Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar series, Formweb in 15 Minutes, where we're going to give you bite-sized pieces of our formulary software, Formweb. Today, we are going to be sharing some of our best practices on how our clients share their drug restrictions. Today, we have joining us Charlene Kristen, who is our Customer Success Director. We have Laura Paxton, our CEO, and I am Caroline McBreen. I am our COO. And now I'm going to pass it over to Laura to give a quick intro for those of you who aren't familiar with Formweb.
Hi there, I'm Laura Paxton, and today we're going to talk to you about Formweb and how people do restrictions in Formweb. And before we do that, I wanted to just introduce you, in case you don't know about Formweb formulary, to the site so that you'll know the terms that we're talking about during this discussion. So if you think about Formweb, think about the formulary is all about the left side of the screen. So you see all these abilities to have, forms, you see the way you look up a drug, you see therapeutic classes. And today we're going to be talking about restrictions, and you're going to notice on the subcategories, and this is different depending on the client, we will refer to clients who actually have a list of restricted drugs as one of their subcategories. So when you hear that today, think about that. It's a subcategory of people's drugs. There are many different ones that we're going to discuss. Not every client uses a subcategory for their restrictions, but many do. And so today you're going to see various different ways that people actually use the site to show their restrictions.
Okay. Thanks, Laura. So today we're going to be looking at mainly restrictions, and I wanted to go over 2 or 3 different ways that our clients display that information. So first, we're going to look at a large health system and how they might display information for all of their different entities under that umbrella. So for this particular one, we've got acetaminophen for this drug, and it's basically talking about the restrictions on the acetaminophen IV. So, but since it is a formulary system, you're seeing all the different acetaminophen, the different formulations, the different strengths that are on formulary for this health system. And then underneath that, you'll see the different ways that each entity might handle those restrictions and the different parts of the P&T decisions that entity has adopted. So you'll see that there, that it's restricted at these facilities, and it's different little pieces of information for each entity.
And Charlene, when someone is, in the case of this particular client, we know that this client is an Epic customer. So within their Epic system, they'll have a link to the Formweb site for acetaminophen. And when the clinician clicks on the link that says Formweb or formulary, it will open that information in a new window. And no matter what facility the end user is at, they'll be able to see the specific restrictions for their particular organization. Did I miss anything on that?
Nope, I think that was spot on. Next, we're going to look at this individual example here. Just a quick list of information about restrictions. So this client decided to put their information into what we call a listing or a subcategory. And when they pull up that listing, they will have a list of drugs, and they decided to put their restriction information directly in that listing. So for this particular one, there's no need to go to that drug. But if they were to go to that drug, they would see the same information. The beauty of this is that it brings it all up on one page. But the same thing would happen, as Laura talked about, if the nurse were to click, or the clinician were to click on the link in the MAR, they would go directly to that drug, but that drug would have this exact same information on it. So that would be there as well.
Just saves them a little step.
Yep, saves them a step. Okay, so the next one is kind of the same thing. It's just a different client and a different way they did theirs, and you can see that some of the restrictions are very short, just restricted to outpatient use, and then some of them are more involved, like these acetylcysteine. And then the actually quick restricted to list, this particular one has, this is the listing that we
Charlene, can
talked
you
about.
zoom in a little on that?
I'm sorry, it automatically goes back to
That's okay.
that, and I can't
Oh,
remember.
yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, this particular one has the listing, and it's all there, but see what they've done here, they've just said, "See comments."
Mhm.
So what the client would do is click on the drug, and it would open that drug, and in that drug, they would see, "Here's the comments." So there's their restriction. Okay?
You know what else I like about this that I think is so interesting? They're using the column, the table format for their drug
Mhm.
display because you can have choices on what kind of a drug display you want. And I think it's so interesting because on this one they're showing, okay, this drug is on the formulary and they're showing this drug is restricted to outpatient. So I think that's very handy when they need to run reports as well.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have restricted and restricted outpatient, so 2 different
Yeah.
restriction columns.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next one is the health system, with restricted with criteria for use. So their restricted information is a bit more involved. So they do have the
Can
same
you zoom
column
in on
format.
that one too? Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, nice, nice, nice.
Okay.
Whoa, that's a nice one, infusion center.
Okay, so this one has the column set up as well, and they have restricted checked. And like Laura said, they have the infusion center available. That's one of the columns they've chosen. And then their restricted information is a little more in depth. They have that it is for hematology oncology only. That's the service line. And then their formulary location is outpatient, and just all the different
Mhm.
specific restriction criteria for that drug.
You know, when I look at that one that you just showed, um, I think I know what system that is, but if you look at this particular page of their formulary monograph for this drug, this is an example of one of our clients who have many, many, many freestanding EDs and outpatient surgery centers, and they use their Formweb in the acute care setting, and they leverage it also in the outpatient setting. So, in my opinion, this is such a beautiful use of the software because all of the work is being done in one place by one person, and you're not duplicating efforts, and the people who are in the outpatient facilities or the freestanding EDs are receiving the same quality and quantity of information as the people who are inside that acute care setting. And they're also meeting those Joint Commission standards because they're held to the same guidelines. So I love this one, Charlene. I'm so glad you chose this example. It's so good.
And just so we don't scare people, um, it's not. It doesn't have to be one person that maintains this information. It can be a
Right.
team, and a lot of places it is a team.
Right.
It is usually the Muse team, or your
Med use.
yeah, or
Yeah.
And
That's
Charlene,
very great.
looking at these examples that you've shown, you've seen a lot of different restrictions and how clients have handled this. I mean, one could say that every client handles it differently. I'm
yes.
curious from your experience, both as a Formweb client and now the customer success director, what are some best practices that you've seen with people building their restrictions as well as maintaining them, and then things you might advise to stay away from?
Well, I think, building them is probably easiest done. Well, I don't know if probably easiest done using a listing. And because you've got all that information close at hand, and when I say close at hand, it's always going to be close at hand for the person in the EHR that's clicking a link. It's always going to be good for them because they're going directly to the drug. But say for the pharmacist that keeps their Formweb page up on their computer all day long on their secondary monitor, they may like to go into that listing and see, oh, wait, does this drug have any restrictions that I need to know about? So they just pull up that listing. That drug's not in the list. Good, they're good to go. So that may help them. So it can work both ways. But so as far as easier to build, I think a listing is. A listing like the one we're showing here is definitely more in depth. And I think when you get into that, what I see with this particular organization that does it this way is they have a criteria that needs to be built out from their P&T meetings. And all of that criteria gets filled in, and basically they're repopulating that criteria information directly here. So if you're going to do it like this, there needs to be a basic format that is maintained. That way it's easier to keep the information up to date and to have it more regimented, not necessarily regimented, but just so everybody is looking at the same type of format.
It looks the same on every drug page you go to
Exactly. If you go
to avoid confusion.
if you get a team that's too big and you've got
Yeah.
different people maintaining the site, then you're going to get into issues with everybody does it a little bit different. You want to make sure you have a format that you're going by.
That's very good. And so we have clients where we've actually built in a style sheet to their comment section so that there is uniformity as they look at the different drugs. Because the worst thing you want someone to do is go to a page and say, wait, that's not how it looks on another page. Is that right? So yeah, that's a very, very good point, Charlene. Another thing that I think is so interesting, I think of one client of ours, and on their listings, their Formweb listings, they have 3 different sets of restrictions. They have restricted to outpatient, they have just a plain old restriction, and then they have one that is to identify the drugs that are high cost drugs and it needs secondary approval. Pharmacy administration secondary approval for the high cost drugs, which I think is so interesting because they're naming it something different, but it's a restriction.
Right.
It's so interesting how the software allows people to just amend the software to be what they need it to be to communicate in the way their organization does. So I think that's super interesting.
All right, guys, I think 15 minutes goes very quickly. So I'd imagine we're at time. I thank everybody for joining us today, and I hope you can join us next week for high cost drugs. We're going to talk about how a lot of our clients are handling that. I know it's a very hot topic right now, so I hope we'll see you in 2 weeks.
And I want to say thank you, Charlene.
Yes.
Welcome. Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
And if you have any questions, email us at info@rfarmy.com. Thank you.
Bye-bye.